If you listened to Joe Biden's speech during the DNC Convention, you heard him mention darkness to light. Well, there's a connection with the Bidens on that, and I'm going to share that with you and a ton of other headlines. So stick with me, folks, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and wow, I've got a lot of tabs open, so here we go. I'm going to try to do this as fast as I can. But remember, you can always double speed me by going down there into the settings and changing it to twice as fast or whatever the speed is you want. You know, we all have a short amount of time, so it's always good if you can speed people up and you can listen faster than I can talk. So let's get going on this. I wanted to start with this because this just made me chuckle. David Hogg deletes Twitter poll after majority respond no to hearing his 2020 election thoughts. So I don't know if you remember David Hogg, but you probably do. He's a big gun control activist. Yeah, right. He's the kid that was and then wasn't and then was at the shooting in Parkland. I mean, yeah, he wasn't there, but then he was there and then he rode his bike there. So, yeah, we don't really know. Plus, he's been seen in other places. So, anyway, he put this poll up and he asked if people would be interested in seeing a video post every day from now until election day with my thoughts on what's going on. And this is what happened. And now he's got like 1 million followers, so it should have been a lot more positive. And I think he was very surprised that nobody cared. Well, he deleted it because it just didn't go the way he thought it should. And you know, it's so funny. These liberals will do that time and time again. They put up a poll and it doesn't go the way they think it should. And so then they delete it. I mean, what cowards. They're just crazy. Anyway, I'll leave the links to all of these down below, just like I usually do. You can go look at it and read the whole article there if you want. This is a blast from the past here because this came out on March 19th, 2019. And I want to remind you that at that time, Tom Fitton was saying, I estimate at least 900,000 illegal aliens voted in midterms. Yeah. So he was talking about it even then. So now when President Trump is talking about things, you know, people are, well, that's not true. Well, yeah, it is true. We had illegals voting. We had people, see, here's President Trump saying, I will be asking for a major investigation into voter fraud, including those registered to vote in 2 states, those who are illegal, and even those registered to vote who are dead, and many for a long time. Depending on results, we will strengthen up voting procedures. Okay, now this was back in January 25th of 2017 that President Trump put that out. Now, you know, the mainstream media is all saying, well, there's no such thing as voter fraud. It's a figment of your imagination. It's a conspiracy theory. You know, they use the term conspiracy theory just to dismiss anything that they disagree with. So, you know, if they didn't like the color blue, they would say, blue is a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. But, of course, that's the color they prefer over red these days. Anyway, very interesting to go through and read this because it says it's also reported that over 5,000 out-of-state voters may have voted for Hillary Clinton on Election Day in New Hampshire because the state allows the same-day registration. So that's from 2016. And if you go through this again, Tom Fitton's been doing a lot of work. You know, Judicial Watch has been doing a lot in this respect. And this was back in 2019. So I'm sure it's going to be even worse. But they're trying. They're really trying. And if President Trump said that, I really do believe that he has people who've been really looking into the whole voter fraud type thing. And they're doing what they can from that perspective. Now, again, the problem we have, which is really what's beneficial in the long run, but it can also be a little detrimental here, is that our states are the ones in charge of how that particular election for that state goes. And this idea of the mass mail-in voting, I still don't understand why in the world the press keeps harping on that. It's like, do you not understand? Let me explain it to you very simply. Ballots that you request, one ballot per person, the person makes the request, the ballot is sent to them. Those are okay. The ones where the state just goes right down the old list and sends out to anybody, whether they're alive or dead, felons or not, or if they're, the illegal, whatever the case is, that's what's bad. Because what happens when they deliver those ballots? People moved, people are dead, they go somewhere. Are they going to be returned? Yeah, right. They're not going to be returned like they should be. And it's probably the same situation as what happened with some of those stimulus checks that went to people who were dead. So, it's not always a sure bet. And there is a real problem with the voter fraud. And especially if they have this mass universal mail-in. And I don't understand why they can't grasp that. But anyway, these are all hodgepodge. I'm sorry they're really not in any specific order, but, I just have so many of them I want to cover. Well, it seems like the Anons dug up a little bit on the Goodyear Board of Directors, and all roads lead to China, it appears. And so down here, I thought this was a very interesting one, because this one, she is the Chief Executive Officer, Greater China for Cisco Systems, was elected to the Board of Directors of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company on December 4th, 2019. And she was then president of the company's business in China and Hong Kong Telecom, the director for the Hong Kong Applied Science and Technology Research Institute. So you gotta wonder exactly what's going on there. And as I understand it, there were leaked audio files of the Goodyear people, and evidently they definitely were supporting BLM and defunding the police. Well, I have a letter from them later on. I'm sorry. Again, didn't get these in any significant order. Well, the DNC groups drop Under God from Pledge of Allegiance. You might have already heard this, and they did it twice, actually. Deliberate omission at Muslim and LGBT convention meetings, and they just purposely left it out when they said it, and nobody in the DNC cared. And not one person mentioned it. Not one person said it was a problem. Here's the video of this one if you want to play it. And the guy says it, but, he's like leading it. Let's all say the Pledge of Allegiance. And then he purposely leaves out Under God. You gotta, it's just frustrating, isn't it? This is a really bad one. This school assignment shows police as slave owners, KKK, and drawing outrage. Can you imagine? Yeah. And evidently they did retract it, but, this is what we're looking at right here. It's just sad that they did that. I cannot imagine a teacher giving this assignment. I can't imagine it. Just ridiculous. But there are an awful lot of liberal teachers that don't mind bringing their liberalism into school. Now, here's the article pretty much. Here's a letter from the Fraternal Order of Police. Whoops, sorry. And they say, basically, you're causing the problem to be worse. You really need to support the police, and there's no reason why you should be denigrating us in this way. And they say here, what is more disturbing is that no adult within your school thought better before sending this assignment to children. Seriously, yeah. And it just basically says, look, you see, police officers are a diverse group of individuals who are working diligently to have conversations, often difficult ones, with our communities and our children. We are willing to sit down with anyone and have a fact-based conversation about our profession. But divisiveness, like your teachers showed, does nothing to move that conversation forward. It only widens the gap further. Schools are supposed to be a place where the youth of America are taught acceptance and understanding. It is where we mold the future of our country, not indoctrinate them in the ways of division. And I kind of actually taught acceptance and understanding. That's not necessarily true. But anyway, so I thought I would leave this for you. The actual link to the article is right here by the Washington Examiner. And so you can read the whole article yourself. And I did need to bring this up because the Anons have been digging and they found there are 2 actual FBI intelligence bulletins about Q. And they came from 2 different sources. The first one came from Yahoo News. And then the other one came from this justsecurity.org. And this particular Anon says found some interesting things about Just Security, that they are connected to Soros, of course, Soros-funded website. And so very interesting that this is what they're dealing with. And it is very interesting indeed to have it be 2 different sources that are trying to paint the Q movement as being, bad for our country. So just wanted to leave that with you. And then this one is about the nursing home deaths. This is OAN. And the whole thing about the nursing home deaths is, look at this. It says that the state could be misreporting its data by the thousands. Yeah. So 6,600 is what their official count is, but it could be that the number is quite higher, and that's what they believe it is, because what they're saying is that the people were from the nursing home, but technically they died at a hospital, so they're counting those as hospital deaths and not nursing home deaths, even though the person was at a nursing home until the very end, and that's when they transferred them, and that's where they died in the hospital. So, yeah. Now, Trump here says Cuomo killed 11,000 people in nursing homes alone. So I think that's what they're looking at, that it could be as high as 11,000. And, when you take the Democrat states out of the death count, our death count for this coronavirus is amazingly low. Really, if you get rid of New York specifically, but some of the others too, that sent people back into nursing homes when they tested positive. So I just think that we were looking at not that bad of a coronavirus pandemic, but they exacerbated it because they caused elderly people to die. I think he should be held up, second-degree murder? Isn't that where maybe you didn't plot it out or something? I don't know. Maybe it is first degree. I don't know. But I do think that there should be some charges for this to these governors for making this decision, because this was unconscionable. Any person with a brain could have known that you don't send positive elderly back into the elderly population where they are most vulnerable. But they did. This is also a blast from the past. This is from 2013, actually. And this is a clip of Mark Levin talking about the Muslim Brotherhood has infiltrated our government. It's called Barack Obama. And he says basically, Obama stacked the deck, that he put a lot of Muslims into positions of authority in our government. And this is causing a lot of problems. These are the people, not just Muslims, but Muslim Brotherhood. Now remember, Huma Abedin has a lot of ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. And she was Hillary's right-hand man or woman, whatever. And if you look through this, this is the whole clip. You can watch the whole thing there. I'll leave this down below. But basically, he's just talking about how the Muslim Brotherhood has infiltrated our government. And probably a lot of them are in the 5th column that we talked about in the last video. All right, here's another one that I think is just really stunning. The Anons have been digging a lot and come up with some really good stuff. And this is Kathy Hoffman, the Democratic Superintendent of Arizona Public Education. She, and they put that in quotes, hates the Bible so much that she swore her oath on a Dr. Seuss book. Yeah, she's pushing sex education on kindergartners. That includes teaching them bad stuff. So, that's kind of scary. Now, they didn't give any sauce on this source. Yeah, they call it sauce, but they didn't give any of that, the source of this particular thing, but I'm sure you could probably look her up and check it out, but that's really sad. That should not be allowed. Taking an oath on a Dr. Seuss book. Sorry, it just shouldn't happen. Then I wanted to show you, this is the Goodyear letter. They, of course, are trying to kind of backpedal everything because they don't want people getting upset with them for standing up for some political views and not for others. And so basically this is just a letter saying, Goodyear does not endorse any political organization, party, or candidate. We have a long-standing corporate policy that asks associates to refrain from workplace expressions in support of any candidate or political party. Second, Goodyear strongly supports our law enforcement partners and deeply appreciates all they do to put their lives on the line each and every day for our communities. We have proudly supplied tires to police and fire personnel for more than 100 years, and that relationship is foundational to our company. And you can read that as they've made us a lot of money over the years. So we don't want to take them off. But I guess, like I said, I think there have been some audio recordings that have indicated that they definitely are standing with the Black Lives Movement and all of that. So anyway, this one is kind of funny because evidently outside the Delaware area where Joe Biden was giving his speech, a bunch of Trump supporters were out there and they were outnumbering the Biden supporters 100-1. I mean, tell me again how we are the minority. No. And so this wasn't supposed to happen. Trump supporters outnumbered Biden supporters 100-1, according to a conservative activist who showed up to the Delaware arena where Biden will be giving his Dem nomination acceptance speech tonight. And of course, this is a few days ago. But they chanted "Back the Blue," and they had American flags, anti-Biden signs, and that's just funny. That's funny there. So you can look at that if you want to. I just thought that was, hey, Creepy Joe has got to go. There you go. So good for them. I appreciate it when people do that. And maybe this is what we need to do more of, to make sure that if protesting is okay, then we go out and protest. And we need to make sure they're peaceful protests, but we should probably be exercising our right if we can. Okay, the Blaze had this report. Chicago police already stretched thin. Mayor Lightfoot stations over 100 cops outside home, bans protests on her block to protect herself. Yeah. Can't protect the people that are in downtown Chicago, but hey, let's protect my house. So, I tell you, this lady is such a nutter. People in Chicago, vote this lady out. Oh, she had to have gotten in there. It'd be interesting. I should probably look back at her information, but she had to have been supported really heavily by Soros. I don't know who she ran against, but oh my goodness, she's not serving the people in Chicago. Not at all. So, yeah, she doesn't care about the people of Chicago. She wants, them to live under terror, but she doesn't want to have to. So she takes some of their police and stations them around her house, and they could be actually where they're more needed, and that would be downtown. Okay, now, I said that Beau Biden has a foundation for the protection of children. Well, actually not Beau Biden, because he's no longer in the land of the living. He passed away a few years ago, and this was created, I believe they said the day after he died. So very interesting. And it's for the protection of children. And it's called Darkness to Light. And, well, that's actually an organization that they support. And I guess they're pretty connected with it. I just think it's very interesting. Joe Biden used the term dark to light, darkness to light, something like that, in his speech more than once. I mean, he referred to it a lot, which I'm surprised that the Black Lives Matter people aren't upset about that, because, you know, he was comparing darkness to something bad. You know, you don't want to say that. So I just think it's really interesting that this is what it was. And you can look through this. So this lady's the one in charge of it. Or she's maybe the one in charge of this organization, which is Darkness to Light. And this is the organization that they refer to here. This is what they keep referring to. Beau brought Darkness to Light Stewards of Children program to Delaware. So that's what he did. And like I said, there's that. And if you go to their partners, of course, there's the Beau Biden Foundation right there at the top of their list of partners. So very interesting. Now, I haven't been able to check out who their donors are, but should be fun to see who all is involved in that. Supposedly, this was created because Beau Biden was the Attorney General for Delaware, I believe it was, when this situation happened. Now, I've got to tell you, this is not for the faint of heart, okay? This has some very disturbing details about a doctor, a pediatrician, who was very perverted, okay? The guy was doing bad things to children, bad things. And he even took video of himself doing those things. It's awful. He recorded 13 hours, 13 and a half, I think it was. I mean, and this is a picture of him. I mean, he wasn't real, I don't know. They say that's what he looked like all the time. And the average age was 3, the youngest was 3 months old. So, yeah, if you're a parent, this will infuriate you, because he kept getting off. Because he was a doctor. And the first mother who accused him of something, he told them, he told the officials that, well, she's just trying to get money out of me. So she's making something up. Can you imagine how that mother felt? But she wasn't. Yeah. And the guy recorded 13 and a half hours of it. And then he still said that he was innocent. Fortunately, I think he ended up with a lifetime in prison. But there is a mention of Beau Biden in this article. I'm going to have to go down just a little bit. It's just a very disturbing article, really, that he got away with it for so long. There's when he was being arrested. Creepy looking guy. The name of his place was Babies. Pediatrician. Oh, creepy guy. Okay, so here, Delaware's Attorney General at the time, Beau Biden, the son of Vice President Joe Biden, instructed an Assistant Attorney General to set up an office in Lewes to identify victims and notify their families. So it sounds to me like he did do what he should have done to try to get this guy, because he was trying to identify who all the victims were, and that Patricia Daly Lewis was the one in that video I just showed you. Ended up living there for 6 months, meeting day after day with stunned, grieving parents and grandparents. And so it does sound like he did the right thing here, but it just kind of odd that it seems to be he was doing something having to do with children, especially knowing how his father likes to grope children and sniff them. So I'll leave the link to this down below if you want to read it. It's just, again, a little disturbing, but important for us to understand what's going on. And speaking of disturbing, yeah, Netflix just normalized pedophilia and classified it as something that falls under religion, culture, tradition, and or values. If you read this, this was Netflix customer service, and I'm not sure who it was. One of the Anons evidently had a little conversation with them. How does a movie sexualizing children get approved? Who signed off on this? And Netflix says, we understand that not all stories may appeal to all our viewers, which is why we always invest in a diverse range of content from all over the world. We also provide ratings, synopses, trailers, and controls to help our members make the right viewing choices for themselves and their family. Do you support pedophilia? A simple yes or no will suffice. That's the Anon asking. We cannot really comment on that, but while we believe in creative freedom, at Netflix we respect all religions and their cultures, traditions, and values. How does that fit in with pedophilia? Well, see, they're desensitizing people. They're trying to rationalize it. Yeah, that's what's going on. And then I wanted to include this. I haven't had a chance really to dig through this yet, but CJ Truth says hundreds of new documents from FBI regarding Flynn, including 295 pages from the original 302s. This is the thread showing you how to find them. Thread and credit go to Nucleus 76. So if you go through this thread right here, you'll be able to find the documents. And like I said, I want to do that. It's just I haven't had time. All right, the Epoch Times had this really good article, and it's about the Energy Secretary. It has to do with a video that I previously did. And the Energy Secretary launches review, asks for investigation after white privilege training draws criticism. Now, we went through that and learned about that type of training that was going on. And it's going on in a lot of places, in a lot of different departments, where they're basically told all white people are bad, and if you're white, then you are racist, and you're hopelessly so. You will always be racist, and nothing you can do will ever change the fact that you are. So you every day need to make sure that you're waking up and you're trying to pay restitution for your racism. Yeah, basically that was it. So, but you need to go watch that video because I went into it more in depth. But anyway, because of Senator Hawley, he's brought attention to this, and now the Secretary Dan Brouillette ordered a review of all training at DOE facilities, and they're going to look into it. The Secretary didn't know about the trainings and has now asked the DOE Inspector General to investigate, the department said. So, just seems to me like they were doing these social workshops at Sandia National Laboratories, and they were pretty much tax financed. Although they're not from, the government themselves, they were under contract, and so they had these types of trainings take place at all 17 labs. 17, interesting. Plants and sites to ensure equal treatment for all employees and contractors. So if you go through this, Christopher Rufo, head of the Center on Wealth and Poverty at the Discovery Institute, a conservative-leaning think tank, is the one who has kind of exposed this. And I put his Twitter feed here. I will put it down in the links, and you can check out not just this post, this thread right here, but you can check out, more on his site because he's got more. He's been really digging on it. So, yeah, Hawley did a good job. Evidently, he was very upset when he found this out and that we were paying for it as taxpayers because, if you listen to my other video, it was really bad. So, anyway, I'll leave the link to this down below, but remember, if you don't have an Epoch Times subscription, you won't be able to read it. So, sorry about that, but I do recommend that if you don't have a subscription to the Epoch Times, you might want to get one. I don't get paid for saying this, by the way. I just think that it is a spectacular deal. for like $16-17 a month. I can't remember exactly how much it is. It's somewhere in there. You get not only all the electronic articles, but once a week you get a newspaper. And it's not just a little newspaper. It's got all different kinds of sections, opinions, and lifestyles and culture type things. It's really very interesting, and I love reading it. So, I really highly recommend that. A lot of times you'll see their ads are on a lot of conservative videos these days. And for like the first month, you can get it for $1 and try it out and see how you like it. I mean, I highly recommend it because it's quite an interesting newspaper and, publication. They've got a lot of articles that are really good and definitely not from a liberal point of view. They do try to be more objective about it. But like I said, I'll leave the link to this guy down below too, because he's the one that's been looking into all that. Then I wanted to show you this link because I think this is just funny. This is, it's called The Party of Unity and Empathy. And so she goes through and she says something that the Dems are saying about being so loving and wonderful. And then she turns around and yells at somebody on the phone over something. It's pretty funny. It is definitely true. So I'll leave that down below too, so you can watch that one. Now, I wanted to give you this one because this goes through and explains what could possibly happen if the results of the election don't happen until after January 20th. Because the president and vice president, their term is up on January 20th at 12:01 p.m. That's just how it works. That's Inauguration Day. And if the results are not there by then, which is one reason why I think the Democrats want to use this mail-in voting, because I think they hope that they can delay the results for that long, then it is possible that Nancy Pelosi could be acting president for a while. But I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, I really don't think that the American people would allow it, really. I think there would be a huge march on Washington if they don't have these election results when they're supposed to have them. So I just think that Trump's going to win by so much of a landslide that it's not going to be even in question. They're going to cry about it, but he's going to sweep it, folks. But we need to make sure that all of us are out there and don't do the mail-in vote. I mean, do it if you absolutely have to. But if you're healthy and you're able to, get in there and vote. Do it at the polls, because there's a whole lot less chance of your vote not counting if you do that. If you get in there, your vote will count. If you mail it in, there's just a lot of things that could go wrong. I mean, if you don't sign it right, if you don't mark it correctly, it may not count. There were, 20% in, I think it was New Jersey, that they had to throw out? 20%, that's huge. So, anyway, this is an interesting little article here, and pretty much they're saying the same thing, that it's not going to happen. Neither Mr. Trump, as we understand him, nor we are saying such an event is likely, just possible. So they're just saying it could, it's a possibility, but not likely. Okay? Then I wanted to show this to you. I'm going to leave this for you to read. If you haven't read this yet, it's a really good thread, because according to Jordan Sather here, he believes that maybe some of the Save the Children organized protests that are happening, I guess happened this past weekend, and there's going to be one in my town that's going to be this next weekend. So he's saying that it could very well be that they're trying to hijack them. Okay? They're trying to infiltrate those and then cause problems, because here's one for Chicago, and if you watch this video, it's not the kind of people you would expect, and it's definitely not those of us who are Anons, because with Anons we like to have Q signs and we like to have all kinds of flags and everything, and you don't see any of that here. So that's what he kind of brings up. And so it's a really good thread to read through. It won't take you very long, but here it is. If you want to see the actual posts, you can click here and see those. Okay? And here's the actual posts. So then Catherine Herridge posted these, and she says, she's been going through these documents that they put out, and she has this one footnote that she wanted to particularly point out, and some other things that she's highlighted. But let me show you this one right here. These are the same pictures she has on her post. I'm just blowing them up here. The dossier and Steele's activities were entirely constructed under the umbrella of a contract with the DNC and Clinton campaign, but Fusion GPS's opposition research into Donald Trump began months earlier during the Republican primaries. In the fall of 2015, Fusion GPS signed a contract with Paul Singer and the Washington Free Beacon in which Fusion GPS would conduct research on Trump's business dealings. While he began the research project generally neutral on Trump, Simpson said, "I don't know anything about Trump in the beginning and had no opinion of him. Over the course of whatever it was, 6 or 7 months, I made some judgments about this person and his character and integrity, that he's trying to pass off on us." But anyway, then this is the footnote she mentions, and basically what this says is Simpson did not testify to Congress saying the same things that he put out in this book here. In the book, he goes more into detail, but when they were trying to get answers out of him in Congress, he wasn't giving them any answers. So, something fishy there when they do that. And then here's another one. This is a little harder to see. Simpson understood the ultimate client for the research to be the DNC, and the Clinton campaign. So he understood it. He knew. That's what they were doing. Now this one I think is just funny because you know how when you have a convention, one of the reasons is to get a lot of energy for kickstarting that campaign of that person that's going to be the candidate for that particular party. And so the Democratic National Convention delivered an approval ratings bounce to Trump. Okay? So, this is just too funny, he said. The Democratic National Convention happened this week. The media showed it every night and gushed over how amazing it was. You might think that Biden would get a little bit of a bounce in the polls because of this, and he might eventually, but Trump already got a bounce in the polls. Trump has already benefited from the DNC more than Biden has. And so the Washington Post Examiner reports, and they did a fact check. True. Trump's approval rating surges during Biden's convention. This wasn't supposed to happen. During this week's Democratic National Convention, which was supposed to launch Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's ticket into the fall election with good feelings and high poll numbers, President Trump's approval rating surged. The Rasmussen Report's daily average for Trump, which is spread over 3 days, hit 51% this week and has stayed there. On the first day of the Democratic National Convention, Trump's approval ratings was 47%. It rose as the president was taking hits at the virtual convention from former Barack Obama, 2016 foe Hillary Rodham Clinton, and a host of other prominent Democrats. That is hilarious. I think it is too. And fact check, true, it did happen. And this one says, it's not uncommon for candidates to receive a bump after a national political convention. It's just that usually the convention is their own and not their opponents. So, yeah, I guess his approval rating soars 7 net points overnight. I just think it's too funny. That was the night of that Kamala accepted the vice presidential nomination. Oh, I don't think she's very popular at all. And so, yeah, it bumped up this one says 4 points in 24 hours. So, I just think it's funny. Here's a little clip if you want to watch it. New Jersey voters react to the Democratic Convention. They're not impressive. They haven't done anything in 44 years. Seems like a big blame game. Trump deserves to win. Yeah, that's what they're saying. So what a disaster for the Democrats and the media. I agree. I just don't think they were very exciting at all. I think they were just kind of blah. So I don't know what's going to come up. This week's the Republican convention. It should be interesting and I hope exciting. So I hear that President Trump is going to speak actually each day. He's not going to wait and only speak once. I think he's going to have his 2 cents in there. But I sure hope that they, do some of these videos that they've been having. They've been doing some awesome ads. They've just been incredible. So I'm pretty sure that they'll have something like that. I don't know who he has working for him for the AV, but oh, they're great. And by the way, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh today, and yeah, I'm recording this on Sunday night. It was like Rush Limbaugh Weekend Review or something, so I don't know what day of the week he actually recorded it. But he was talking about this one African-American woman who is running for office in Baltimore. And it was an awesome ad. It was incredible. If I happen to find that, before I get this all uploaded, I'll make sure to include a link on it too. I can't remember her name right now, but it was really incredible. And the very last line of it was, black people don't have to vote Democrat. So I thought that was really pretty cool. So hopefully I can find that and I'll give it to you. Look at this. I kind of like the way they're putting this now. Now they've got one for parley there. And yes, it's the French teacher in me. I got to say it parley because it's like my first reaction when I see that word. It's just how it's pronounced, of course. The French. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I don't have a small channel this time, but that one channel that I showed you back here, it's fairly small. I think they only have 57.7 thousand subscribers, so I don't know, maybe that's one you want to look into. Anyway, that's what I've got for y'all. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.